What's going on, everybody? It's the Indoor Hunter, and today we're going to be talking about the Rapid Hunt Rifle Pack. It was released on March 25th. It's the latest weapons pack to come to the Hunter Call of the Wild, and well, I've been using it for almost a week now, and I've got some thoughts and opinions on it. In this weapons pack, we've got 3 brand new semi-automatic firearms introduced to the Hunter Call of the Wild. 308 uses 308, obviously, which has been in the game for a while, and the Hannison 30-06 uses 30-06. The Quist Reaper, on the other hand, uses 7.62x39, which is a brand new caliber added to the Hunter Call of the Wild. People make the common mistake of assuming because a weapon shares the same caliber as another weapon, they're going to perform exactly the same, and that couldn't be further from the truth, especially when it comes to this weapons pack. Firearm found in the weapons pack is semi-automatic, meaning there are no bolt actions. These are quick to shoot. That said, there are a couple that have semi-automatic counterparts already in the game. Most noticeable difference between the Hannison 30-06 and the M1 Intowak, which are both chambered in 30-06, is recoil. The Hannison has some of the best recoil control I've ever seen come to the game as far as weapons go, and honestly it might be one of, if not the best grind guns in the game now, because we've got 5 rounds of semi-auto firepower in 30-06 that's actually controllable. The big downside to the M1 is it's got some sharp recoil and takes some getting used to. And the 30-06 is advertised as having incredible hip fire accuracy, which I personally haven't really utilized a whole lot in my tenure on the Hunter Call of the Wild, but if you're into hip shooting, apparently it's really good at that as well. When I started testing the Perry 308, that's when I started noticing some, quote, issues. When directly compared against the Zarza 308, which is the AR version of the same caliber weapon, the Zarza outperforms this gun all day, every day, blindfolded. It shoots faster, it has better recoil patterns, you reload it faster. I personally like the iron sights better on the AR than I do the AK. I do think ultimately they added this weapon in there just to have, you know, that variation of weapons. We've got a bolt action 308, we've got an AR platform 308, and now we have an AK platform 308. Truth be told though, 308 got nerfed at one point, and it's not really been the same heavy hitter it's always been, and it's lost a lot of favor in my book. I much prefer 30-06 over 308 in the Hunter Call of the Wild, and now that we've got the Hannison 30-06 that just blows the Perry 308 out of the water on basically every level, I really can't, from my testing and time using it, I haven't noticed any reason to use the Perry 308 over the 30-06, again, outside of maybe iron sights and those weird situations where you would need to use iron sights. Again, and all these comparisons too are based on my own personal opinions. If you like the Perry 308 or you're in love with the Zarza 308, I'm not trying to admonish you at all. It's just not my personal preference. But like I said, the Hannison 30-06 is noticeably better than the Perry 308. I'm not gonna lie, when this weapons pack was first announced, I wasn't that thrilled about it. Sure, we get another 30-06, we get another 308, and at the time, I thought the 7.62 was the same as the 300 Blackout, so I was completely unimpressed. Boy, was I wrong. The Quist Reaper, which is probably the #1 weapon to come to the Hunter Call of the Wild since the 375, is chambered in 7.62x39, which is slightly larger than the 7.62x35 that 300 Blackout is chambered in. 300 Blackout in the game is not to be used on Class 2 animals. However, the Quist Reaper chambered in 7.62x39 is absolutely able to be used on Class 2 animals, which makes it undeniably the best small game weapon in the game. The Quist Reaper with 7.62x39 has more penetrating power and expansion than any other small game weapon in the game. The 243 has finally been dethroned as the king of small game. I've been asking for years for a replacement or a comparable weapon to the 243. Not that the 243 is a bad gun, it's in fact excellent. But after all these years, you kind of get bored of using the same old thing, especially something that's just in the game since day one. Not only is the Reaper Quest modeled after an SKS, it shoots like one, it's fast. The reload is, at first, I was like, this is pretty slow. You're single-loading rounds into this internal magazine. Not the best, but I've seen worse, until I figured out that if you take the scope off, you actually transition to stripper clips, and you can load that gun really, really fast. I've yet to find a class 2 or 3 animal that the Reaper doesn't just absolutely destroy. It became my immediate favorite gun when it comes to fox grinding. I'm shooting all kinds of stuff with this gun just to see how much it can do. Again, just imagine a 243, but it's semi-automatic and is actually more powerful. The 243 is a very versatile weapon, and same can be said for the SKS. So I guess the big question is this weapons pack worth it? And I would say just for the Quist Reaper alone, absolutely. That gun replaces the 243. It is absolutely the dominant small game weapon, and unless they nerf it sometime soon, which I'm kind of scared of, it's that good, it's going to stay in the loadout until its replacement comes to the game as well. And hits just a little bit harder than the M1. That one's a really hard one to actually prove though, because you got to get animals that are standing exactly the same way, the exact same distance, and it's a bunch of work, but so far it does seem like the Hansen's got the little bit of edge as far as power in comparison to the M1 Intuak. That said, is it worth the $5 to get it? Absolutely, just because you get that quest. Is it going to replace the M1 in your loadout? That's for you to decide. I think it has for me, at least temporarily. We can never get rid of that iconic ping as the magazine empties, but as far as that recoil control, just the smoothness of this gun is insane. It's one of the smoothest shooting guns in the game, if not the smoothest shooting gun in the game. In conclusion, this weapons pack is no different than any others in the past in the sense that it does add some potentially meta-changing weaponry. Again, specifically the Quist Reaper easily replaces the 243, 223, 22, 250, 30, 30. It's hands down the best small game weapon in the game, and until they add something crazier, I doubt it gets dethroned anytime soon. Again, they could nerf this weapon. I don't know. It's that good. Utterly devastating on class 2 animals. It's insanely fun to use because it's so effective. In the video that I released prior to the release of the weapons pack, I was a little critical, thinking that maybe this was just a knee-jerk money grab for, you know, whatever reason. And I was pleasantly surprised that nope, this wasn't a money grab. This is yet once again a meta game-changing weapons pack that adds something that you just kind of can't live without once you use it. I appreciate everybody stopping by. Let me know what you think about the weapons pack if you've got it in the comments below. I'll see you guys on the next one.